Hey guys, it's Audra and welcome back to my channel. It has been 10 months since I have posted anything on here about anything in life, and that is because there's been a lot of changes. I have moved from Kansas City back towards my family, started a new job, and everything that just goes along with that. And with all those life changes, I have done like absolutely no reading since probably March. Typically at this point in the year, I would have read like 80 books and I probably have read 20. So I'm starting to feel like getting back into the reading mood, which is super important since I am an elementary librarian. And so Nonfiction November, for whatever reason, has been like my favorite readathon the last several years. And so I want to hop back into that. And then also there is Historathon 2.5 that I'm going to combine with that because I also really love historical fiction books. And so we're going to pair them together and just see how this month goes as a trial run to getting back into booktube and reading and just all of the things. So the first challenge for Nonfiction November is collection. And for that, I'm going to go with My Story Starts Here. It is Voices of Young Offenders. So it's just like short stories from young children, young adults, however you want to say that, because they're 18, 19 is what it looks like, of being young offenders. I got this collection at the American Association of School Librarians in Kentucky a couple years ago, and I wanted to read that. And it's short, it's a collection, and it's a good fit, obviously, for this challenge. So to pair with that from Historathon, I think I'm going to try to do both of these at the same time, is a book that you are like the last person to read. And I'm going to go with Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I think last person to read because it's like won tons of awards. The Pulitzer Prize, but also a lot of people have talked about it. This is set in the 1960s at a juvenile reformatory called the Nickel Academy, but it's also based off of the true academy in the 1960s. I think it's Dozier, D-O-Z-I-E-R, in Florida. And so it's definitely going to be a hard read. I know there's a lot of like dark scenes in here that are kind of like trigger warnings, I think. And then also to pair with it, there is a challenge in Historathon that's for middle grade, and this is listed as 14 and up, but I picked it up recently from Barnes & Noble, and I want to get to it very soon. This is called The Degenerates, and it is also kind of like a school. It's named the Massachusetts School for Idiotic and Feeble-Minded Youth, and it's basically just a story of these girls, how they come together, how they are treated, and so I just want to read this, and I know it may not count for the challenge, so I have a backup if I get to it, and this is It Ain't So Awful Falafel, and this is a middle grade about a little girl and her family in the 1970s as they are struggling with being in America as Iranians, and there's a lot of like anti-Iran sentiments, and even the government's like taking American hostage. It's just kind of all about that time, but like at a middle grade point of view. So that'll be interesting. I may completely go off the tracks for the middle grade one just because I have so many available to me that this is the hardest one for me to pick for some reason. I don't know. But anyways, moving on. The second challenge of Nonfiction November is industry. And for industry, I'm gonna go with Babies by Design, The Ethics of Genetic Choice. The first thing about this is it was written in 2007, so I already know that some of this is going to be very outdated, but it kind of gives you an insight into what that was essentially almost 15 years ago as genetics were kind of working on different choices that can be made with embryos and eggs and all that kind of stuff. If you don't know my backstory, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I have been through fertility preservation with eggs, and I have just always been interested in genetics, like even prior to that. And as I have been finally cleared by my oncologist after 5 years to even consider having a family, it's just something that has kind of like piqued my interest again, even though not anywhere near making that choice in this current moment. We'll see. But this is going to be industry because it is a very high dollar industry because it is not covered by insurance. So at all, that kind of like sends my brain on a whole another level about how many thousands of dollars I have invested in children that I don't even have. But so yes, this is definitely industry. Hopefully over the course, by the end of my lifetime, that will change, that it is covered by insurance. So it's not so much of an industry for people who can afford it. But moving on, let's see, the next one is, what did I decide to use this as? Maybe, I think, okay, so Historathon, I have little pieces of me. This is kind of a back and forth into time between present day and then in the 1970s, which I'm counting that as historical fiction because I wasn't born yet. But it's basically this girl and she's trying to figure out like her identity and like her past because it sounds like she doesn't know who her father is, and like DNA starts coming into it with the DNA testing website, which to me, there's not like an exact movie based off of this. It's a new book I picked up at Target, but there are so many TV shows out there. Long Lost Family is one of my family's like favorite TV shows to watch together. You know, just as there's like so much more coming out about like the research behind the DNA websites, whether it's like to find your family or like I'm also into like the Crime Junkie podcast, and so like the Season of Justice of like all these serial killers being found based off of this DNA testing that's now out there. But so yeah, so I think I might just watch some episodes of Long Lost Family and have that feel good time. I always cry watching that show, but this gives me that kind of vibe, so we're gonna go with it because I want as many books that like I'm actually interested in and not just to like pacify a challenge to get through this month of like trying to read again like I used to read. Fingers crossed. The third challenge for Nonfiction November is style, and for that I'm gonna go with joyful. It is the surprising power of ordinary things to create extraordinary happiness. And the first reason this is about style is because it's all about like what you put around you gives you joy or inspiration or yeah, just like the things around you. It's about shapes, it's about atmosphere, like just the vibes of your home or whatnot. The second reason is style is just because of the book itself. First, it's pretty there, but you take off the cover and it's covered in confetti. And so that's a lot of fun. I have already read this one. It's one of my favorite books that I read 2 years ago. And I don't really know why. I think I just enjoyed it. But I just want to reread it, and it's a good one to know that I already like it, and hopefully I can get straight back into it. And then to pair that with, for Historathon, another reread, but also one that's based off of transportation, is The Last Ride to Graceland. And this is about a woman whose name is Corey Ainsworth, and her mother has just passed away and of breast cancer, unfortunately. So warning for that, just because I know that that truly affects me. But her mother was a backup singer for Elvis, and she's thinking that possibly Elvis might be her father. And so like she goes basically on this road trip to find the truth of this situation. And it's really neat how like every place she stops, it goes in reverse order from the way her mother experienced it back in the day in the 1960s, I think. I don't know. So that would be historical fiction right there. But moving on, the last one I have is for Nonfiction November's Treatment, and been wanting to read this one for a while. It's called The Butchering Art, Joseph Lister's Quest to Transform the Grisly World of Victorian Medicine. So it's just like the history of surgery medicine and how it went from like all these people in a room, kind of like, what do they call it? Almost like in a theater kind of thing where everybody's just watching, there's no gloves, there's no sanitation, and how it progressed into what we see today. And then For Historathon, this is a book that I've also had forever, The Waiting Room, and it is a story of an ER doctor, I think, but for some reason, in a span of 24 hours, it like covers 5 different decades, 3 continents, and is this family's story of love, war, and survival that goes back to World War II. She is the daughter of Holocaust survivors, so we're gonna see how that, has affected generations coming up into her life as a doctor. So it kind of goes with the treatment and historical fiction. So there's a lot of really good books that I've been meaning to read here for a while, and a lot of ones that are brand new. You may see me read these month. You may see me read something completely different. Whatever it takes to like get me through a book and to enjoy reading. And if I feel like I'm getting stuck in like 2 or 3 days of reading one book, I'm probably gonna abandon it and run and go to find a different one because I just have to get back into it. But anyways, those are the books that I plan on reading for Nonfiction November and Historathon. So if you have read any of these, I would love to hear from you down below. Also, I would love to hear what you're reading as well. And I will see you in the next one. Hopefully, I think I'm gonna do a nonfiction haul next. We'll see what happens, but have a great day.